Excuse me. Like 9 times out of 10, I don't even have to yawn until I hit that live button. Then I'm like, "Ooh." Well, anyway. Hi. So today's going to be part 2 of my self reads because I'm glad I did it Thursday night to prepare for the meeting on Friday. But then the meeting on Friday happened and I was left with a whole different set of questions. And I'm like, okay, so December is going to be the Two of Swords for real. And then also, I think it'll be the Two of Swords in a few ways. I saw there was a BBC whatever video. I think it was posted for like 5 months ago, where two ladies in Israel revived or brought back the Judean date tree. I guess they said it was burned down in the Crusades, but they had some seeds, and they got the seeds to grow. Seeds that were very, very old. And then it made me think of the Two of Swords in a seeding energy, like something that holds. It's like it holds itself together until it's in the right environment, until it's the right time for it to like release it and for it to flourish. Right now, they said we got the first tree. Excuse me. Named Methuselah. They named it Methuselah. Oh, just saw that. And it was a male tree. And then they were like, well, we need a female tree for this male tree. So they got some more seeds. And I think they said that like 6 out of 30 something more of them germinated and 2 of them were females. So now they'll be able to produce fresh life rather than sort of having to continue to rely on old seeds. And I thought there was something in there somewhere for something. Maybe it'll come up, maybe it won't. So I'm giving this a few shuffles. Then I'm going to pull before and after the Two of Swords. Cards keep flipping over. Flipping over. And I'm not really reading any of them. I'll pull before and after the Two of Swords, and then I'll fall from there. Excuse me, I'm going to try to keep this one fairly short because I got to go eat with my grandmother. It's been a few weeks since we had our weekend time. Oh my goodness. And all the cards are different too. I'm going to stop here. I'll pull those two. No, set it here. I'm going to pull from the bottom. Oh, snap. This is another card that's gotten renamed. The Two of Orbs. Hey, Skywaltress. Excuse me. Yeah, I haven't been live for very long. Yawning when you see red tractors. That's interesting. Oh. So the Two of Orbs, Two of Pentacles, in the Revelation edition, it's the tension. And the reason why I'm like this is because since these are self reads, I left the top light on and it's really bright. And, so I can see the cards. And then I also turn this on. So if I do this, you can see them. But since it's mostly for me, it's the Nocturne in. Oh. It's the Nocturne in the Vitruvian edition. This is interesting. So it looks like she's in the savannah, question mark. Like where you'd find lions and stuff, I think. And the Two Pentacles, whenever I see a Two of Pentacles card, I like to see how like much space, I guess, how off center they are. I mean, they're perfectly centered. The two pinnacles are perfectly centered here, but the two spheres, I guess, in the back aren't. And it's almost like there is a balance that's able to be maintained here. But the fraying of that rope, I noticed the rope was frayed. That's when I was like, oh, it feels like the fraying of the rope is because these are sort of moving and they may sort of come apart. So there is an energy that's maybe, well, it's Jupiter and Capricorn. Jupiter and Capricorn is interesting because maybe Jupiter is pushing Capricorn beyond, or in this energy, Jupiter is pushing Capricorn beyond its sort of like boundary. And it reminds me of turgor pressure in plants. It's because plants have cell walls that they can only get so, like the cells, plant cells have cell walls. The cells can only get so big. And so when you fill them with water, it creates a tension, the tension, and it creates a pressure as the cell wall or as the cell membrane pushes up against the cell wall. Animal cells and others, some others, don't have cell walls. So they can kind of sort of get as big as they will without anything stopping them from getting any larger. Okay, I'm looking for the Two of Swords. Oh, I typically look at the bottom three cards. Oh, this is all Jupiter. Two of Orbs, the tension, Nine of Chalices, the wish granted, and then the Wheel of Life, the Sphinx, destiny turning. Jupiter and Capricorn, Jupiter and Pisces, and then just Jupiter. Jupiter was in Capricorn when it conjuncted Pluto, when everything was conjuncting Pluto. Jupiter is about to return to Pisces if it hasn't already. I'm not following the transits. I know it either recently happened or it's gonna happen soon. Um, and then here's Jupiter itself coming out with the Wheel of Fortune, but the Wheel of Life, almost like this Two of Pentacles. It's like, well, you can get it upright or in reverse. The Nocturne is about smooth transitions. The Nocturne, it's a card, it's like things are changing, things are happening, and it's almost like trying to hold it together so things can like more naturally flow from one state to the other without extreme like spikes or jerks or whatever, right? And it feels like with this energy, it's starting to come apart. Now, I mean, I would say that the wish granted and the wheel of life, wheel of fortune, I would say that means I'm on a better side. If there's a better and a worse side, in a fairly good position, because it's like it's frayed, they split apart, and then I go into the wish granted and the wheel of life. Also, related to that meeting I had yesterday, um, I was left with the decision that I didn't necessarily anticipate. I didn't think I would consider it as much as I am. It's not that it was completely unexpected, um, but also going back to that, like the strength card. And the when I said that the feels like the Two of Swords is about like bringing two things together, it's like it's holding the sword side by side and creating one bigger sword or whatever, one greater sword that is an amalgamation of the two separate swords. Instead of crossing them, they align. Um, and I also like going back to like these different sort of aspects and sides of me. Not only am I going to have to like be a few, some of them I might have to be at the same time, where it's very just like boundaries. You know what I mean? It's like establishing a boundary, not necessarily being um, extremely forceful about it. But it's like as long as we're within the boundary, everything is fine. And as soon as we start to hit the boundary, it's like no. And so it's both like having the boundary and like being within it. It's like it's that Turger pressure. It's the Turger pressure. And I'm like, do I want to deal with this though? Because it would be a whole lot easier to just move on. But I don't know. So anyway, that's where I am now. Ooh. Okay. That was the bottom three. I guess I'll leave these up here. I'm still looking for the Two of Swords. And I'm pulling from the bottom to the top. Oh, I found her. That is interesting. Did I see you yesterday? Yeah. When I put these cards away, they're still together. When I put these cards away, Twitty, how you doing? Howdy. The Herald came out yesterday. The Herald of the Winds, Ventures of the Dauntless, and then I was like, "What's her message?" And it was the Empress, Gloria Mundi, Glory of the World, or whatever, right? And it's interesting because before the Two of Swords came out, the Archangel of Glory, and the card after the Two of Swords is the Chariot, right? And after the Chariot was this Empress, Gloria Mundi, Archangel of Glory. And I feel like, oh, what? Okay. I'll keep the deck split. No, well, I'll keep it. Nah. I don't know what I'm doing. How are you doing, Twitty? Did I ask you how you're doing, Skywaltress? It's another self read today. Now I'm digging into the Two of Swords. Even though I'm already having a feeling of what it's. I'm just like, anyway. What's interesting though, oh, it's here a few times. So in the Two of Swords, the blind seer. Was that, yeah. This tower in the back, that reminds me of this, the individual with the two pinnacles, because you see how it's like raised at the bottom. And that's also because like there's the sun and the moon in the Two of Swords, and then here we have the world of the moon and the world of the sun. Now in the Vitruvian edition. Oh, okay. I was a little confused for a second, but it's fine. In the Vitruvian edition, there's the North Node world and the South Node world, and then the world serpent sort of in between, biting its own tail, holding them together. But in this one, it's the sun and the moon. And I was looking at the moon phases because the moon has its phases and the sun is just the sun. I was like, oh, where are the phases on the sun? And there aren't any phases of the sun. Right? It always is what it is. It's almost interesting though, because it's like as the sun and the moon come together, because it's like up and down in the Vitruvian edition. Yeah, it's SKT3. It's up and down in the Vitruvian edition. And it's like this here. I feel like it's sort of making this movement. So as the sun and the moon sort of like come into a horizontal alignment, if these don't move to compensate for this movement, then that's what tears this apart. Or is it? I don't like this because I'm like, wait, is it tearing apart? Because now I'm seeing it as it's like it's establishing some kind of link and connection. Like instead of the rope being frayed and like tearing apart, it's actually like forming. So then it becomes, it's like the beginnings of a bridge energy. I don't know. I'll keep reading and find out. Oh, okay. I have the Two of Pentacles and the Two of Swords. Oh, you got the journal? I don't think I got the journal. I think if this, there is an energy here, and it's a self read, so I understand it a little bit more. I would like to think I do. Because this reminds me, it's that energy of like holding something until other things align. And that's what this is. Or that's another, it's feeling like that is here as well. So it's like this individual is holding these two orbs in place. And as the sun and the moon fall into alignment behind it, it actually strengthens that connection. But it's almost like she has to hold it in configuration because if it's almost like wherever they sort of like whenever they meet, that's where it's going to be locked. So if her orbs are like this, then it's going to form like that or like whatever. Partially, it partially is also that energy of anchoring in what you wish to experience in life. It's almost like holding on to the wish or the dream until the will of life turns in a way that affirms it. And the Hanged Man is the card, it's the singular card that flipped over in the deck when I was like, let's just start. Because cards kept flipping over. And so I pulled before and after the Hangman, both face down. But that to me is also sort of Hanged Man energy. And it goes back to the nature of Earth. And maybe that's what this is as well. almost in a way of, it's not the serenity prayer, but it's like there are things that we can control and there are things that we can't control. And we can only control the things that we can control. So what we can do, or what I can do, I'll do to the best of my ability. And for anything that I can't do, it's like I hold the space until it falls into alignment. Because this one, like the cube is the closest to her. The sun and the moon are up in the sky. Like there's no control over that. But there is some with that third eye. I don't know if it's an understanding, but it holds something. Like that seed, right? Where we hold it together until the environment is right and the time is right. And then when situations are favorable, circumstances are favorable, it germinates, it sprouts, it blossoms, it becomes something mighty. The potential was always there. But the thing about potential is it's like if we don't hold it, then it'll die. Like the seed can die, right? Where like even if you, because there were a lot of the seeds weren't viable. It's a lot of like dried out, withered husks of a seed. Well, it's like when the situations and the circumstances are favorable, when the will of life turns towards the season that gets the seed to grow. If the seed is dead on the inside, then nothing's going to grow, right? And then in the hanged man, the eye of the sun is lit and the eye of the moon isn't. It's also Neptune. And I'm a Pisces. There's a butterfly emerging from the cocoon here. There's the snake going down, hanging from the Ankh, which is the symbol of the Empress, but it's in reverse. So it's almost an energy of like there are things that are seen with the eye of the sun, and then there's the space of the things that it's like they're seen with the eye of the moon, but they haven't yet come to be. And again, around the Two of Swords is the Archangel of Glory, Angel of Art and Grace, and the Chariot of Osiris. But I feel like the Chariot of Osiris is being driven by Isis. I don't know much about Osiris besides Isis Osiris. I think he stood for order. He was killed by Set, who was like chaos and disorder. His body was scattered all across the world, and then Isis went around and collected it and then resurrected him with all the pieces except for his genitalia, right? And then Horus came in as a new order, but there had to be that Set sort of chaos and disorder in between. Or was it Apep? I don't know. Oh, the snake. The snake is Apep that represents the disorder. In the chariot, too, though, the chariot is a card of like to get the chariot to move forward, it requires a balance of forces. And it's a chariot of sphinxes. The chariot is coming out under the wheel of life. So whereas in the wheel of life, they're on like completely opposite ends of the wheel, in the chariot, oh, it's the will of the chariot. So that's why the Two of Swords is here. It's about the driver. It's about the person behind the wheel, finding the balance of forces and moving it forward. And it feels like the Nine of Cups is important here because, again, it's like the sun and the moon are going to move how they're going to move. So it's going to come into an equilibrium either way. But it's what we hold that determines sort of like where we find ourselves when that equilibrium is set. It's where we position ourselves when like that snapshot is taken as we move into the next thing, sort of like in between scenes, right? In between moments. Excuse me. And maybe the Archangel of Glory, that's all the fire energy. I've been coming more into. I'm a lot more comfortable with it now. Thanks to life, circumstances, people. There is an empty quiver, though. I think this is a quiver for arrows, and it's empty. I know the sharpshooter is the Eight of Wands. But there's no bow either. Angel of Art and Grace. Maybe that's a certain. I feel like the grace, there's a delicate balance here with the Two of Swords. And I think the art is not bargaining, but it almost is an energy of bargaining. It's almost an energy of like, I understand what it is I need to do. And I also understand what it is that I want to do. And I'm of the mind to make sure I do what I need to do while also positioning myself for favorable circumstances to fulfill what it is that I also want. It feels very delicate. So the cards that came out around the outlaw. Oof. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I was like, what? The corruptor and the archangel of healing comes out around the outlaw. And this as a timeline with the hangman sitting between these two, the hangman is a projector. And it projects its internal state with all of the water. And within the internal state of the hanged man, there are these different, maybe like life events, happenings, other things that sort of like rise up and become non fluid parts of the landscape. Now, the hangman, the outlaw, could always raise the water to flood everything, and then it's all water. Or it could lower the water to expose more land, or it could do something completely different. It could rearrange the land. Who knows? You know what I mean? But the angel who salves and purifies comes out after. The corruptor is there. But so it's like, it gets purified. But also in this edition, in the Revelation edition, Shiva's axe that removes corruption is already there. And again, with the internal landscape of the hanged man outlaw energy, the axe is found in the mirror. It's found through reflection first, and then it's exercised externally or internally. It's exercised wherever the corruption needs to be removed, right? But it requires this reflection to sort of find it. And then after that, Archangel of Healing comes in. And, to further emphasize the energy of removing or purifying corruption, it's the angel who salves and purifies. So, what time is it? I got like 20 more minutes until I need to go. I kind of want to use an Oracle deck. The Elucidator. I feel like I've seen that word lately. Maybe I've said it. I don't know. Oh, what are these? Okay. So everything at the bottom of the deck was Jupiter. Jupiter in Capricorn, Jupiter in Pisces, and then Jupiter. The blind seer is the moon in Libra, and then the chariot is Cancer. And then Venus in Scorpio is the corruptor. The outlaw is water, or Neptune, more modernly. So there is a lot of cardinal energy here. And Capricorn, Libra, and Cancer. Aries isn't here, but Scorpio is here, which is like the feminine side of Mars or the other side of Mars, right? But that also came out in the internal landscape space. So I feel like there was something, or there is something. Well, the Archangel of Glory is here, which is fire, wands energy. There's something, well, it's the projector, right? There's something about needing to externalize, not corruption, because again, it gets purified. There's something about needing to, this is an internal process. Okay. Because in all of this balance, it's like if I'm going to allow myself a certain multiplicity, then whenever a moment arises, I need to make sure that I'm like properly metering and exercising all of the things within me, right? So I can meet it to the right degree. Because I'm not the type of person that's like, oh, I'm not, I allow myself to be mad, I get angry, I get all kinds of stuff. And I don't shame myself for it. I don't try to shortcut it. I don't call it something different. I allow it because there are certain things that I'm allowed to be mad about. But it's like if I'm approaching someone else, I don't necessarily, given the context and situation, want to approach them with just anger. You know what I mean? It's like there are other things. And that's what I'm sort of trying to do. Malika, hello. How are you doing? Your 12th house son loves this. Let's go. Um, and so it's like sort of taking that reflection and removing what isn't necessary. And then it's like distilling all of these, purifying all of these, and then giving out the one, which is what this little, I don't even know if anything is retrograde right now. I know some stuff is retrograde. I don't know if something's about to go direct. I don't know if it's because of the nodal shift. I don't know if it's just the end of the year lesson for me. But the end of the year lesson for me seems to be about boundaries, self sort of respect, also fluidity, also accommodate, like being accommodating, and keeping in mind that like everybody is different. It's like trying to be understanding, but also trying to be like forthright at the same time, and to not allow so much understanding that I severely like inconvenience myself to the point where now I'm overburdened and stressed out. But it's also not being so self-centered and self-focused that I can't necessarily see when there's like an issue or a hindrance or a reason on the other side. So I forget why I start the projection. So all of this happens internally, and then I do something or I say something, hopefully in this space, and that is the Aries energy. that's the fire after I do it. But this is like, I got to take it from the receptive side of Mars to the expressive side of Mars. And somewhere along that transit, some like cleanup needs to happen. Because even if, like, there's a way to go about saying certain things. And if the Kizzy Cat, what? Kizzy Cat, what? Hey, Kizzy Cat, how you doing? It's been a minute. Oof. Venus is going retrograde to Capricorn soon. Oh, okay. Whew, excuse me. Well, that's a completely different story, but my Venus is thriving. So my Venus in Aries is like, okay, I can finally breathe. All right. Okay, you're not running anymore. Okay, I can work with this. Um you got a job. Whoop whoop whoop. Yeah, it's like it throws it for me it threw like everything off. And now I'm like I just want to sleep. But I'm glad that you got a job. If you're glad you got a job, you know what I mean? These are self reads today, by the way, for anyone who's coming in a little later. So my Chiron's in Leo, so my Venus still would have been oof. Fire in my chart was the hardest thing for me to access. And it's what made me when I was younger, it's what made me the most me. Um and then I went heavy into like isolation and like stoicism and stuff like that. Um, and it just like effed me all the way up. And then it's like now I'm learning to balance the two. So, or I've been, well, the fire came back, and then I've been learning to balance, and now I'm gonna have to be like fire and water at the same time. So I got to use a lot of air to sort of like try to figure out the balance because I want my earth to be to remain stable, if not increase in abundance. I'm up to the task, but it's just like, oof, sometimes. Um, but that's where the Aries comes in. That's how I bring Aries energy. So I'm going to move this down here. That's how I access Aries energy to give me all my cardinal energy. And I have a grand cardinal cross. Venus in Aries, Jupiter in Libra, Mars in Cancer, Uranus and Neptune in Capricorn. So I already have all that cardinal energy. And cardinal energy, it's not like I got a lot of Taurus in me too. I could just be like lazy in general. So I'm like, all that cardinal energy in my chart, and I don't want to do nothing. But that can also be like grand. Uh, well, it's more of a square because my Mars in Cancer and my Uranus Neptune in Capricorn, they're like 11 degrees apart. But my Venus Jupiter, they're like 3 degrees. So it's not like a cross, but it is a square because of how it's like it's in aspect to make that part of the square, and then these are in aspect to make that part of the square. So it's actually kind of sort of that Jupiter, Venus, Aries, Libra axis in my chart that it's like it slots right in the middle to activate all of it. Maybe that's where I should dedicate my focus because here's the moon in Libra at the heart of all of this. And my moon is in Taurus. So it's like I got to take the receptive Venusian side of my moon and make it more, oof, make it more, see, it's, I'm like, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. But maybe it's what I got to do, maybe it's what I got to do. I'll think about it. I'll think about it. Your comments in Pisces. Hello, Eve. How are you? So anyway, so the first row is all Jupiter. Jupiter, and then Pisces is here too. So there's a Pisces Cancer trine. But then there's the Cancer Capricorn opposition. But the Cancer energy is the Chariot, which would resolve the opposition. And the opposition here, it's like I know I feel this way, but is it like feasible? Is it realistic? And at the end of the day, like I said, I can only do what I can do. So, well, I had to work for like 2 hours today, which meant I woke up earlier than I wanted, but all things taken into account, I'm doing pretty well. I'm about to go eat some good food with my grandma in like 13 minutes. What? How did this happen? Aw, okay. What? So look at this. Y'all see that? New World Order and the Journeyman. Sun in Virgo, the one energy I don't have in my chart. And then also the Giver, Moon in Taurus, flipped over. And that's my moon. Bottom of the deck is the Vagabond, Five of Orbs, Mercury in Taurus. Oof. Well, so the Vagabond just slid. The Vagabond slid when I put the cards down, and the Tower is behind the Five of Pentacles. Here's that Five of Pentacles studio. The Tower is one of my birth cards. The Tower and the Chariot are my two birth cards. Um, so here's the Axe of Shiva. Right? I'm like, what? Y'all know I can barely keep up with the chat already. So early bird gets the good food of grandma. I love that. Because I was going in to help out a coworker. And I was like, oh, what time are you coming in? Thinking she would say like, 12, 1, 2. She was like 6:30. I was like, 6:30. 6:30. I was like, I'll be here at 8. so, so I did 8 to 10. That means she did what, like 6:37 to 10. Um, but anyway, here's the acts of no, they're both here. I just noticed that the Two of Swords, there's a lot of these like triangle zigzaggy patterns in this. Um, but remember how I said the Two of Swords is reminding me of this individual in the tension card? Well, the lighthouse at the bottom of the corrector down here reminds me of this tower as well. Like it's a lighthouse. You know what I mean? So that's that. But oh, that makes sense then. Because it's almost like I don't know if it's internal and external And I was gonna say that the axe wasn't used here because I forgot it drips green goo and this drips red. But maybe that's another. I don't know if that's part of the projection of the hangman then. Because it's like as it's balanced and purified and salved and healed internally, I'm not gonna say that it causes anything, but it feels like it more or less aligns. It's like it fits the timing. It feels like it's leading a little bit because she has the two pinnacles in position as the sun and the moon are still getting into position. And the emperor is behind the tower. Speaking of Martian energy, Mars and Aries. And I was talking about how there's that internal balance and purification that needs to happen before it's externalized so it comes out as a healthier Aries energy that will align with what is already here rather than it being an energy that's like I'm acting in ways that manifests or brings into alignment or positions me directly opposite or square to what it is that I want. There are opposing energies here, there are squaring energies here, and it's all about lessons and it's about how sometimes the easiest way to see something is in the mirror. I can't see my own nose, I can't see my own eyes. There's a lot of me that I can't see. And not every mirror is necessarily, an accurate reflection of me. Like if I go to a fun house, how many mirrors am I going to see that like completely distort my body and give me proportions that I don't even have? Anyway, back to this because I really need to wrap this up. But Namah Shivaya. I know, is it Om Namah Shivaya? I don't remember Shiva's. I know Kuan Yin's. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani. Sorry. Padme. Okay. The lotus is here. The lotus is here. The jewel is in the lotus. The lotus comes from the mud. Anyway, well, see, because the Six of Pentacles, Six of Orbs, the Giver, was the last card that flipped over. The bottom of the deck was the Five of Orbs. But the Five of Orbs is immediately behind the Five of Orbs is the Tower. And I was talking about Osiris, Set, Horus, how we had to have that, how there was that period of chaos in between order and a new order. And that's what this sort of feels like. It feels like the Five of Pentacles has its own order. Hold up, wait, maybe it's backwards. Yeah, there we go. Hold up. There we go. It feels like the Five of Pentacles had its own order, and then it gets torn down, and then the building is like remodeled in the Six of Pentacles. And in the Six of Pentacles, it's the giver energy, while in the Five of Pentacles energy, like there were people sort of outside. And that's not necessarily the case in the Six of Pentacles. And again, it's like it's New World Order with this journeyman energy. Also, talking about Horus, there is the mother, the father, and the child. But anyway, I've seen this symbol. Not exactly, but the symbol on the headdress of the person on the left reminds me of the symbol on the girdle of the belt of this person. Can you see that? Maybe. Maybe I'm holding it weird. It almost reminds me of that one card in that one deck. And it was like this energy's greatest gift is actually forming bridges and connections between people where it's the least likely or expected, which I don't necessarily want to hear because I'm like, I don't want to have to be your friend either. I was like, some people are just like not hard to like, but it's like every time things start to go well, every time things are going good, the vibe is changing, something else happens. And it's just like I want to like you, but you're making this kind of difficult for me. And I'm not gonna like everybody. And it's something that I know to be true. I feel like I've been softened up in a lot of ways in the past 5 years. I've been softened in ways that I've never been this soft before. So I'm a lot less Taurian Aquarius than I used to be. Saturn used to run strong in my veins. Um, and Saturn is here in New World Order. So is all the fixed signs. I guess that's interesting though. I got all the fixed signs in one card. I had to like get all of the cardinal signs separately. Naturally stubborn. Okay. It's like you already got the stubbornness down. You already got fixed energy down. Being cardinal is my challenge right now, but that's not surprising because, like I said, with all that cardinal energy in my chart, you would think I'm a lot more motivated, or I would be a lot more motivated than I am. But Pisces, Sun, Taurus, Moon, and Rising, I got like napping, sleeping, dreaming in my big three. And that's what we're talking about, like internally doing something new, then like, yeah, I'm all over it. But I've heard that five is change. Excuse me. You did? Oh, I love it. I love it. I don't know what it is about that, but it just like it resonates within me. Okay. Is this it? I feel like I want an oracle card though. Mm, mm, I don't know where I put that deck. 1 second. It might be down here. It might not be. I gotta hurry up and end this. My grandma about to be like, "I'm outside." I'm like, "No, I'm not ready." Like, okay, I'll be out there in a minute. ah, I haven't pulled these in a minute. Ugh. Oh my gosh, is that my grandma? That's literally my grandma. I'm here. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up quick. Let me text her. I was like, my grandma's about to text me, like, I'm outside. And then she literally immediately text me, "I'm here." I'm like, "Oh gosh." All right. I just want to get one card to end this with. Nap, sleep, dream. Oof, I should have been a cat too. But like a cat that belongs to like owners that spoil their cat. You know what I mean? Like not a cat that gets neglected or is like on the street somewhere. Okay. Oh. Oh. So Ran is the card that came out. Intuition, subconscious, and currents. And then Gerd is at the bottom of the deck, artfulness. With Gerd and Dog at the bottom of the deck. Artfulness, clarity, and novelty. I feel like these go together. Oh wow. So Ron has a 2, Gerd has a 3, Ron has the 4, Dog has the 5. There's no 6, but then there's a 7 and an 8. I was like, okay. Oh well. Oh my gosh. Well, I just got all of them. Okay, that's funny. So behind Dog is Njord, economy and revenue. So then that gives me the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And no numbers repeat, right? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm not going to read all these. This is too much. I'll read Ran and Gerd. Oh my gosh. Oh, well, maybe not. Oh, she sent me a thumbs up. Okay. All right. Usually I like to get like a final card, but you know, not today. So the fifth from the second from the fifth, right? No, the fifth of the second. Yep. Jotunheimer. Wait, the second, the fourth of the second. It's the fourth of the second. I haven't used these in a while. I forgot my numbering system. No problem. So Ran, intuition, subconscious, and currents. Ran is a giantess, a goddess of the sea, and wife to Aegir, the giant god of the sea. She is very much a goddess in her own right and quite a mystical one. She is the one who gathers those humans who perish at sea and brings them to her underworld. Those will then stay there, regardless if they die in battle or not. They don't go to hell or Valhalla. She can be described as a queen of the subconscious and even as a counterpart to hell, queen of the synonymous underworld hell, who rules the negative in our subconscious. Ran is one with the sea, and she is a gentler ruler of souls. Those who end up in her and her husband's realm are not lacking and mingle with the gods. She, much like her husband, is a gracious hostess and a lavish goddess in general, be it food or materiality. If the pair comes up in the spread, their attributes are doubly reinforced. If any of their daughters show up along with her in the spread, it is an indicator for the seeker to look to their subconscious and or emotional currents for answers to the questions at hand. Overall, her appearance in the spread is a fortunate one, and few other cards can deter that fortune. And then Gerd being the eighth of the third. Gerd is the eighth of the third. Yeah. Or Gerther. Gerther is wife to Freyr and daughter of the giant Gemir. Gerther is seen as an earth goddess, although her roots lie in Jotunheimer. She is placed in Alfheimer, as that is where she lives alongside her husband. Gerther was seen as a goddess of cultivated land. Her name means enclosure, and she might be seen as a goddess of what is fenced in or designated such as farmland or field in the olden days. On a broader note, she brings an element of protection. She is the enclosure that keeps the unwanted out and protects what is within. In the spread, she offers protection for the seeker. She is not without vulnerability, though. Under threat, she gave in to Skirnir's threat of magic. When Freyr seeks Gerther, he becomes intensely lovesick and sends his servant Skirnir to convey his message of love to her. Gerther is reluctant at first, even when offered precious gifts. She is eventually persuaded under the threat of the three magic staffs of Othal, restlessness, urgy, aggravation, and ivy, madness. They do enjoy a happy union, and if they show up together in the spread, they reinforce the notion of growth and fertility in human endeavor. While Gerther is the goddess of protection, she also stands for beauty, what is attractive, naturally charming, and artful in appearance. The card indicates a natural beauty surrounding the seeker's endeavor and can also indicate artfulness in an isolated undertaking relating to home and family, as well as what is enclosed near the seeker's heart. So there's like an earth goddess and a water goddess energy, which I love because um, I got a lot of earth and water in my chart. F fire, I'm done with it. Take me back to the earth and water. Take me back to where the abundance naturally flows and all of my woes are, they drift away and I ain't got to do nothing. Just be and enjoy. Don't got to work or nothing. I'm kidding. All right. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it, I guess. I hope if you watch this, that you find some resonance in it. I hope you all have a good whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. Um, and I hope that you get some good food too. If not today, then soon. All right. I will catch you all later. Bye.